law enforcement, we say thank you. And as Chris Wright was talking about electricity, I want to close with that. We've solved amazing things in 7 months, but the big challenge we have against the remaining is, solving Iran's nuclear thing, that was an existential threat. China beating us in the AI arms race, that's an existential threat. We finally have a president who talks about it. You talked about it in your opening remarks. You've signed executive orders. You understand that essentially we used to say hundreds of years ago, people started saying that knowledge is power. But now, for the first time in history, we can take electricity and we can convert it into intelligence. So it's flipped. It's no longer knowledge is power. Power is also knowledge. And while we're ahead on the technology, we're way behind China on the amount of electricity they're bringing online. And your strong position to support affordable, reliable energy using our nation's resources, including those across the Department of Interior, bringing back coal mining, bringing back mining, bringing back timber. All the industries that have been killed in this country are coming back to life because of you. And with your leadership, we have a chance to not only win the AI arms race, but actually dominate it the way we're dominating in other things. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. And we're leading that race right now by a lot. And we're going to keep the electricity coming. You know, in China, they do it very quickly. They have one person that says, do it, and that's it. But essentially, we have one person that says, do it. And we've given that order, and the job they've done has been amazing. And I want to thank again, Lee, what you're doing in that regard is so important. And the rapidity, just as fast as them, because it's a question of a week versus a day, and that's not going to make the difference. But you've done fantastically, and Doug and Chris, amazing job. So we've done this for a little while now. I don't think you've ever seen anything like it, and I think Sean was right. These guys that are holding these up, if you ever try holding your hand out for 2 hours, that's a long time. These are pretty strong characters. You've been doing that a long time, I guess. Congratulations. Are you getting tired? Are you getting tired? I'm looking at these guys. They look like they have no problem. It's amazing, actually. It's I think they would have beaten you guys in the test. So I want to thank you. If you want, it's been a long time. If you want, we could go in and we can call it a day. And feel free then to ask some of the questions here. Look, I believe in very open, we want to be open, above board. We want to be honest with the media. I wish the media was totally honest with us, but I think they're getting better, to be honest with you. And so we'll see. But if you want to take a few questions, you really
on a serious note, when it comes to Fed Governor Lisa Cook, her lawyer has said that they're going to be filing a lawsuit challenging this legal action. What is your response? Are you prepared for a legal fight? And then a little bit more.
Oh, sure. Always. You always have legal fights. Look, I had a legal fight that went on for years with crooked people, with very horrible people, people that have been found out now between John Ratcliffe and Tulsi and Pam. And the things that we found out, of course, it's a very, very sad group of people. But no, she seems to have had an infraction, and she can't have an infraction, and especially that infraction because she's in charge of, if you think about it, mortgages, and we need people that are 100% above board, and it doesn't seem like she was. Yeah,
Mr. President, first, I would love to ask you a serious question, but I have to tell you the biggest pop culture news of the year broke while we were in this cabinet meeting. Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift are engaged, and the world wants your reaction, sir.
Well, I wish him a lot of luck.
Thank you,
I think I think he's a great player. I think he's a great guy, and I think that she's a terrific person. So I wish them a lot of luck.
On a serious note, Mr. President, in May, Secretary Rubio said that they were aggressively removing visas of Chinese students. Yesterday, you said you wanted to allow 600,000 Chinese students to study in the United States. Could you and the Secretary clarify what is the policy on Chinese students in the United States?
Well, we think we're getting along very well with China. And I'm getting along very well with President Xi. I think it's very insulting to say students can't come here because they'll go out and they'll start building schools and they'll be able to survive it. But I like that their students come here. I like that other countries' students come here. And you know what would happen if they didn't? Our college system would go to hell very quickly. You'd have, and it wouldn't be the top colleges. It would be colleges that struggle on the bottom. and you take out 300,000 or 600,000 students out of the system. I like having, and I told this to President Xi, that we're honored to have their students here. Now, with that, we check and we're careful and we see who's there, and Marco wants that. We're in the same position. But we have a tremendous college system, the best in the world, nobody even close. That's why China sends them here. And you can call it an industry if you want, but you're talking about millions of people. And I'm honored to have the students from China come here. And we're just getting along very well with China. And it's a different relationship than we had for years, where they took hundreds of billions of dollars, just sucked it right out of our country. They respect us again. I respect them. The relationship is very good. I think it's important that these are two very major powers, nuclear powers at that, but two very important powers. You know, when I get along with Putin, when I get along with President Xi, when I get along with these people, that's a good thing, not a bad thing. We're tough and we're smart and we're strong. We get along. It's a lot better than not getting along. You had somebody in here before. The war should have never started with Ukraine and Russia. It would have never started. And Putin said that himself. President Putin said that himself. So we want to see college students come in from countries. There are some countries that we can't necessarily say that. These are places that have ideologies that we can't live with. So there are some areas, some countries that we can't say that. But we're honored to have the students come here. Please. Yeah, please.
Yesterday you said that within 2 to 3 weeks we have a pretty good conclusive end to the war in Gaza. What did you mean by that? And could you tell us?
On what?
In the war in Gaza. You said
What about it?
You said in 2 to 3 weeks we would have a conclusive end, a pretty good conclusive.
There's no conclusive. It's been going on for a long time. You're talking about, I guess if you really add it up, Steve, you're talking about thousands of years, okay? It's been going on there's nothing conclusive, but hopefully we're going to have things solved very quickly with regard to Gaza and also with regard to Ukraine and Russia.
Mr. President, who are you considering for the replacement to nominate for Lisa Cook, and what economic background or history are you?
Well, we have some very good people for that position, and I think we have some very good people. We're down to, I think I maybe in my own mind have somebody that I like, but I deal with Scott and I deal with Howard, and we're dealing with a lot of people actually that are going to be involved in that decision ultimately. It's a very important decision. As we see, I got a bad recommendation when I went with Jerome Too Late. It's just, he's too late. His nickname is Too Late. Costing us a lot of money, hurting the housing. Our housing industry is good, but it could be phenomenal. Most of this country, in economic terms, has been phenomenal. We've never seen anything like it. Because of him and his high interest rates, the housing is less than it could be. We're going to get that straightened out very quickly. He gets out very quickly, fortunately. He's been the wrong guy. Not a bad person, I don't think, but I do think he has motives, by the way, but I don't consider him. I've dealt with worse, but he hasn't done the job. The recommendation from a certain person was not a great recommendation. That person vouched for him, but we're doing a very careful study. We'll see what happens. Look, we just put a very good man in one position. We might switch him to the other. It's a longer term and pick somebody else, but we're very happy with the person we have in there. And we'll have a majority very shortly, so that'll be great. Once we have a majority, housing is going to swing and it's going to be great. People are paying too high an interest rate. That's the only problem with housing. We have to get the rates down a little bit. And when we do, it's going to be a tremendous difference. The country is doing so well. It sort of blows through the fact that we have a man who's too late and not doing a very good job. Please, in blue.
Mr. President, regarding crime in D.C., something that might help especially ladies is being able to carry. I know you've talked about reciprocal carry. Would you like for that to apply here in Washington, D.C.?
When you say carry, I assume you're talking about carry what we're talking
Concealed
about, right?
or, yeah.
In other words, carry a gun. Is that right? Would you like to carry a gun?
I would like to, yes, sir.
You'd feel a hell of a lot better, right?
I absolutely would.
I agree with you 100%, okay?
Okay, great.
But I'll tell you, within another couple of weeks, it's hard to believe what's been accomplished in 12 days, but within another couple of weeks, you won't have to carry. You're not going to have to carry. You're going to be safe. people are safe now. The turn has gone fast. I knew it was going to go fast, but this turn has gone really fast. And within a month or two, this is going to be one of the safest places in the country. I have no doubt about it. And we'll do an extension. We'll work with Congress, or I could declare an emergency, but I don't think that's going to be necessary.
And
We'll
to
work with
that,
Congress.
you've got-
We're going to be working with Congress. I spoke with our great speaker, and I will be speaking to John Thune, and we're getting tremendous support from Congress, especially maybe here. Everybody wants to see our capital be great. Could say be great again. You know, it's such a beautiful place, but if you have crime, nothing looks beautiful. So, but you won't need to carry a gun, but if you do,
Well, I would like
They're
to
gonna be
have
your
the
choice.
option, just in case.
well, a lot
Sir,
of people feel that.
Also in other blue cities, you've got Karen Bass in Los Angeles, Brandon Johnson in Chicago. It seems to be very popular here, the fact that people can walk around, go to restaurants, shop, not
Yeah.
have to worry about their safety. If blue city mayors oppose those efforts in their cities, do you anticipate that Democrat voters are going to take it out on them at the
I
ballot?
think so. I think that crime is going to be a big thing. And we are the party, the Republicans are the party that wants to stop crime. We're against crime. The Democrats like crime. I don't know why. I mean, we talk about common sense. I think I got elected on talking about common sense. The border, we have to have a wall. We don't want transgender for everybody. We don't, as I said before, we don't want to have men playing in women's sports. I mean, you see the difference. Weightlifting. Take a look at weightlifting. Take a look at long distance running, where a runner came in 5 hours and 14 minutes ahead of another runner, both champions. One male, one. It's not fair. It's demeaning to women. It's so bad. But they have another one, and I think this is the beauty of them all: crime. They're against crime prevention. You can't do that. You can't do that. And I think to myself, I say, is there some game? You know, they're smart people. Is there anybody that could cheat like that in elections is smart, okay? And there's never been in history anybody that could cheat like that. They're smart. They're brilliant in many ways. I say, is there some trick to this? When they say, Trump is in Washington, D.C., stopping crime. He's a dictator. And people are being mugged like your brilliant associate here. I don't know how you're alive. I mean, based on that story, you got very lucky. He didn't just go, all he had to do is this, right? And, you know, it's pretty amazing.
Was it an
So
intentional
we have something. I think we have two things. I think what Bobby was talking about with respect to drug prices is unbeatable. Nobody else could have done it but us. And I think that crime. I think crime will be the big subject of the midterms and will be the big subject of the next election. Think of it. They are, instead of saying, Trump's right about crime, it's really bad in Chicago. You have a guy in Illinois, the governor of Illinois, saying that crime has been much better in Chicago recently, and Trump is a dictator. And most people say, if you call him a dictator, if he stops crime, he can be whatever he wants. I'm not a dictator, by the way, but he can be whatever he wants. I think it's going to be a big subject for the midterms, and I think the Republicans are going to do really well. They called it a trap. This Democrat consultant, they said, he's put him in a trap again, because these are all traps. You know, 80-20, but they're not 80-20. They're almost 100-0, all these issues. But I would say that crime is stronger than men playing in women's sports. I think it's stronger than transgender for everybody. You know, it's transgender for everybody, according to them. It's stronger. Of course, this is a cause of it, open borders. Open borders gave us a lot of this crime. So, you know, so they're sort of on an equal footing, I guess. But crime is going to be a very big subject. And you know what he should do if he was smart? Illinois or New York, if they want, or Gavin Newsom, they should call me and they should say, you know, we've got a problem. You know, we could solve with this team, different players, but work the same way, because you'd leave them here. You don't want to take them out and let it go to hell. Everybody's so happy in Washington. I bet you walked over here today and you had no fear. Nobody has any fear anymore for the last 12 days. But it would be so smart. Gavin Newsom called me up, say, you know what, we have a big problem. We have the Olympics coming up. We want to do well. We have tremendous problems on crime and other things, and would love some help. Chicago in particular, maybe right now. I mean, it's a disaster. It's a disaster. We could solve their problem in, it's bigger than this, let's say 2 months, okay? Working with their police. I know their police very well. I have a big project in Chicago. I was so proud of it. It's the best site in Chicago. I got it, nobody else got it. I was happy as hell. That was when I was a real estate guy, and I got it. The Sun Times site, they call it. And I built a building, it's a great building. And I'm so embarrassed when I see the kind of crime stats coming out. They're so embarrassed. And if I were a governor, a Democrat governor, or mayor, or anybody having to do, I'd call up President Trump, I'd say, President Trump, we need your help. We saw what you've done in DC in a period of 12 days. This is 12 days, we haven't even started. This is gonna be so safe. It's gonna be the safest place on earth. And we'll do the same thing in Chicago. But I'd like to be asked as opposed to just going in and doing it. Because, you know, when you go in and do it, then they start screaming, oh, he shouldn't be here, we don't need him, we're doing so well. And then the better we do, they take credit for it. So it's really pretty unfair.
Mr. President,
Yes, go
on
ahead.
crime, for a lot of victims like myself, a big concern is long-term sustainability. Can you share with the American public about your plan in ensuring that DC is safe in the long term?
Longer term, yeah.
Here's
Well, it's a great question. Number one, we want to stay there for longer than 30 days, as you know. We have an absolute mandate, and I can extend it, but I'd rather not have to declare a national emergency because by that time, I mean, right now there's not an emergency. We've done, as you sort of said yourself, it feels like a different world. We've got under arrest and prosecution, and we've thrown out, taken some, and we're in the process of taking hundreds out of our country that shouldn't be here. And these are hardcore professional criminals. They were born to be criminals, in my opinion, but they're seriously bad people. Murderers, drug dealers, you know them all. You see them all as you walk beautifully to work, and every once in a while somebody puts a gun to your head, because that's what happened in your case. We're getting a lot of them out of the country. We're putting a lot of them in prison because we're afraid to bring them out of the country. They could come back. You know, as good as we're doing, they could come back. We don't want them back. And that's going to solve a lot of it. We also think there should be a presence here for long enough. We should also work with our police department because you have very good police here, very good. We're working very well with them, by the way. And we have to work together for a while. We have some people that are very tough and very strong working with the police. They're going to be able to handle it. And you know what? If it gets a little bit bad, a little bit, just a little bit, I'll bring them back in and we'll straighten it out and we'll make it perfect. You're going to be so safe in the city. And you're going to have the city beautified. We're going to be giving out, we're working with Clark, as you know, construction. They're the biggest. They're working with me also. We're building a beautiful ballroom for the White House. They've been after it for 150 years, employs a lot of people. It's going to be as beautiful a ballroom as has ever been built. And Clark is the big builder in this city. They've done, I guess, a majority of the good work, the big work. And we're working with them on the beautification, the fixing up of the roads, the fixing up of the medians, between the roads, so cars don't wrap into each other. They wrap into I have one piece sitting on the ground for weeks. This was a year ago when I had to come in, unfortunately, for fake court cases. And I looked at the condition. We have it fixed up a lot right now. You know, the tents are removed and a lot of things have taken place. But I'd come into this city and I'd say, boy, does it look bad. The filth on the roads, the medians were broken and always laying down and nobody would fix them and all of that. Well, we're going to have new medians. We're going to have a nice topping put on the road. We're not going to rip the roads apart and start a construction project that lasts for 2.5 years as they rebuild the road, which they don't have to do. And we're going to have this place so beautiful. That's going to be a part of it. Now, the biggest part is crime, but it's also a part, you know, when you see a dirty city, it's like I told, I don't know, it became the #1 thing viral. I said my father, he's a smart guy, he's a great guy, he's a loving, wonderful father, but he could be a little on the tough side. He told me that, son, when you walk into a restaurant and you see a dirty, filthy door going into the restaurant, don't go there because the kitchen's dirty also. When they see a dirty Capitol, the rest of the world, they lose a lot of respect for our country. This Capitol is going to be so beautiful. We're going to have new poles, new lights, new fences. It's stuff that, when you add it up, it's money, but it's peanuts compared to what we're talking about. And we're also going to have great safety.
Mr. President, I wanted to ask you on crime and also a question on foreign policy that maybe other officials can weigh into. And on crime, Iris shared her story, and you mentioned, people going.
That was a terrible story, because I'm just amazed she's here. When the gun is, Pam, when the gun is put to the head, did they ever capture these people, by the way?
I kept calling, but I haven't heard back about this guy.
It'd be really great if you could maybe give the information. She's very good at capturing people, She's very good. If you could give that information to Pam, would be great. Would you do that?
Yes,
All
will
right.
do.
Wouldn't you'd love to see them? I would assume you'd like to see them captured.
For sure.
You can't. You just
Been waiting
can't.
for years.
Yeah, take a good look at that.
So,
Go ahead. So go ahead.
Just a few weeks ago, I was out to dinner with my husband, and we're taking the metro back, and then we get attacked on the metro. They're throwing things. Some teenagers, they're throwing liquid at us.
Oh, they're throwing things. They throw. How about where they chop down the granite curbs and the concrete curbs? But the granite curbs so expensive. Those granite curbs, nobody uses them because they're so expensive. And you see a guy chopping them and handing out big chunks of them like a brick, because they couldn't get in because people were stopping them from walking out. A little bit unusual when you're walking with a bag of bricks. Generally speaking, Sean, that's not a good sign. Right? It's not a good sign. But they now come in with hammers. They can disguise a hammer, and they start pounding the concrete and the granite, and they hand out chunks. And those people take those chunks and start throwing them at cops, or they stand on the top of bridges and they drop them down into the windshield of your car, and you get killed running into a light pole. It's those days are over.
I wanted to ask you, Governor Hochul, Kathy Hochul, said that she spoke to you on the phone, and you said you might send National Guard troops to New York. You mentioned that. So will you?
I'd love to do
will
it
you
if
send
she'd
troops
like.
to
I
them?
get along with Kathy. If she'd like to do that, I would do it. See, look, New York has difficulty like other, and I don't want to make this bite. I want to make this like friendly, but the places we're talking about happen to be virtually all Democrat run. Now, take a look at your 25 places that are most troubled. Everyone, except maybe one, and it's way back in number 24 or 25, but essentially 25 out of 25 are run by Democrats, and cashless bail was a disaster. When they did that, and I believe it was instituted first in New York, but when they did cashless bail, that was a tragedy for this, because that's when it really started getting bad. When somebody kills somebody, you don't say you can come out, you don't have to put up anything. You put that person in jail, and you find out whether or not it's true, but you don't give cashless bail with a promise to come back in a couple of months, we'll start talking to you. Because they go out and they kill other people, and you can't do that. The cashless bail has been, it's just a woke thing. It's got to stop. You see that, Christy, better than anybody. It's got to stop. It causes unbelievable, and we're doing that. We're stopping it in D.C. I would love to have the governor of Illinois call me and say, look, we have a problem in Chicago. We will stop that problem in Chicago in 2 months, maybe less, 2 months. We'll stop it. These are tough cookies we have working for us. These are tough cookies. These are not politically correct soldiers that I won't go into definitions of what that means. But these are not politically correct soldiers. These are rough guys. I watched it last night. I see it. I saw them the other day when we went down and we spent some time together with them. These are tough cookies. These are not people that you're going to laugh at and spit in their face and they're not going to do anything about it. And these people, they're afraid. These gang members who are bad people too. These are bad. These are just bad people. Ours are bad, but they're bad in a good sense, right? You understand that, Scott? And we can solve Chicago in 2 months. Now, then, as per your statement before, we have to keep it going, and we'll be able to keep it going. The first thing you have to do is get it down. We are very close to being at that position in D.C., and within a month, we will be, within a month from when we started, which is quicker than I thought, you're going to feel very, very safe. I think you feel very safe right now. But I would love it to have these governors, mayors call me and say, we'd like to invite you into our community, because we have a problem, and you can handle the problem, and we can't. One other thing, sanctuary cities, they should be terminated. They're sanctuary for criminals. They're safety and security for criminals. They are very, very bad, and all of these places have big sanctuary cities, and all they're doing is protecting criminals, okay?
Questions about Lisa Cook. You have spoken out very strongly for a long time about what you see as the weaponization of government.
Yeah.
Is your administration weaponizing
No.
government by digging into the mortgage records of officials you don't like?
No, they're public. I mean, you can find out those records. You can go check out the records yourself. And you should be doing that job, actually. You wouldn't do that because that's not the kind of reporter you are. But you should be doing that job. I shouldn't have to be doing it. If you did your job properly, we wouldn't have problems like Lisa Cook. Go ahead. You were going to say something?
So would you be trying to fire
Blue?
Lisa Cook if she had voted to lower interest rates?
On national
Please.
security.
I think we have to have lower interest rates, yes.
A follow-up question for you and Madam Attorney General on national security. We've heard from Stephen Miller yesterday in the Oval Office that there are street criminals here in D.C. who are actually found to be doing business with transnational criminal cartels
That's right.
overseas.
And we know who they are, and we know who they're doing business with. And we're arresting the people, very strongly arresting, and we're keeping them there because, you know, your laws here make it very difficult. And one of the other laws we're trying to get done, because you have 14-year-old kids that are just as tough as a 25-year-old kid, just as dangerous, and they carry the same gun. And we have to make a provision where they're treated like older people, because these are seriously tough, bad. They're children, but they're criminals, and they're really bad criminals. And they're used by older people because they never get charged because you can't do anything to them. But we are getting that changed, Pam, I hope, because you have 14-year-old kids that are evil, they're sick, and they have to be put away. Something has to be done, because you can't have a society where they're allowed to walk the street. You know that better than anybody.
Mr. President, on your way to Alaska.
I can't believe it. You're not tired holding that?
I have
Look
a
at
few
this.
more questions.
How strong are you? How strong are you? Look at him. He's been holding that thing for 3 hours. You're a good fisherman.
Well, I should give that a shot.
Go ahead.
On the way to Alaska, you had mentioned that there would be severe consequences if Vladimir Putin did not agree to a ceasefire.
Yeah.
After that summit that was rolled back, given the negotiations, is he back on the clock now?
I want to see that deal end. It's very, very serious what I have in mind if I have to do it, but I want to see it end. I think that in many ways he's there. Sometimes he'll be there and Zelensky won't be there. You know, it's like, who do we have today? I got to get them both at the same time. But I want to have it end. We have economic sanctions. I'm talking about economic, because we're not going to get into a world war. I'll tell you what, in my opinion, if I didn't win this race, Ukraine could have ended up in a world war. We're not going to end up in a world war anymore, but it would have ended up possibly in a world war. That would have been they were ready to trot. But just like India and Pakistan, we're going to end up in a nuclear war if I didn't stop them. You know, it's sort of strange. I saw they were fighting. Then I saw 7 jets were shot down. I said, that's not good. That's a lot of jets, you know. $150 million planes were shot down. A lot of them, 7, maybe more than that. They didn't even report the real number. And I'm talking to a very terrific man, Modi of India. And I say, what's going on with you in Pakistan? Then I'm talking to Pakistan on trade. I said, what's going on with you in India? And the hatred was tremendous. Now, this has been going on for a hell of a long time, like sometimes with different names for hundreds of years. But I said, what's going on? I said, I don't want to make a trade deal. No, we want to make a trade deal. I said, no, I don't want to make a trade deal with you. You're going to have a nuclear war. You guys are going to end up in a nuclear war. And that was very important to them. I said, call me back tomorrow, but we're not going to do any deals with you, or we're going to put tariffs on you that are so high. You were there, Howard, right? Yep. You're going to put tariffs on you that was so high, I don't give a damn, your head's going to spin. You're not going to end up in a war. Within about 5 hours, it was done. It was done. Now, maybe it starts again. I don't know. I don't think so, but I'll stop it if it does. We can't let these things happen. The Russia-Ukraine situation, last week 7,012 soldiers, 7,012 soldiers died. They were Russian, they were Ukrainian, they weren't American, so a lot of people would say, what do you care? They're not American. I care. They're 12,000, over the last couple of weeks, over 12,000 people died in like in 2 weeks. You know, we're talking about crime where somebody's killed here or somebody. Think of it, you have your son leaving Russia, leaving Ukraine, their little house, wherever they live with their parents, they're waving goodbye, just like our parents would wave goodbye. And they're waving goodbye, son. And then a week later, his head's blown off in a stupid war by a drone, a whole new form of military problem. So, no, I'd like it to stop. I want to get it to stop. And it will not be a world war, but it'll be an economic war. And an economic war is going to be bad. And it's going to be bad for Russia, and I don't want that. Now, I have to also see, because not everybody, you know, Zelensky's not exactly innocent either, okay? You know, it takes two people to tango. And I say it all the time. You got to get them together. I get along with Zelensky now, but we have a much different relationship because now we're not paying any money to Ukraine. You know, stop that. We're paying money to ourselves. What's happening is NATO is buying all of the equipment and paying in full. But even with that, forget about that. I want to get it stopped because it's a lot of lives that are being lost. Every week it's 7,000, 5,000, 6,000. I get the reports and I see battlefields. I'd rather not see them. And you know, you read about Gettysburg. You read about Gettysburg and you see, you know, those 600,000 people, but in that war in particular was really bad, like 150,000 or something, just dead body. I'm seeing the same. I see pictures. I see satellite pictures of heads over here, arms over here, legs over here. And this is like a modern age. It's no different than the worst wars that I've ever seen. And if I can stop it because I have a certain power or a certain relationship, I had a very good relationship with President Putin. Very, very good. That's a positive thing again. And I think I'm probably the only, Steve Witkoff would tell you I'm the only one that can solve it. I don't know, he's told me that a few times, unless he was saying that just to build up my ego, but it's not really. I have no ego when it comes to this stuff. I just want to see it stop. Thousands of young people, mostly young people, are dying every single week. If I can save that by doing sanctions or by just being me, or by using a very strong tariff system, that's very costly to Russia or Ukraine or whoever we have, you know. But I stopped 7 wars, and 3 of those wars were going on for more than 30 years. You know, if you look at Congo, if you look at, just look at any of them, almost all of them were going on for an extended period of time. Now, interestingly, one had just started. It was 2 days old, and you know that one. And we did that one when we were in Scotland negotiating. It was 2 days up, but there were 2,000 dead bodies laying on the border, and I got that one stopped too. And I'm very honored by that, but I still, the one that I thought would be the easiest is turning out to be the hardest. That's President Putin and President Zelensky, but I think I'll get it done.
Why do you
Can
think
you
that
stop
is? Why is it harder than
the
you thought it would be?
You never know. It's war.
Can you stop the family?
With war, you never know, right? War's very tricky, very horrible. But with war, you never know. Things change. People go into war, think they're going to win the war, and then they get their asses kicked. And they lose their country, and they lose millions of lives. Nobody goes into a war thinking they're going to lose. They go in. I'm sure that Ukraine thought they were going to win. It's going to be, you know, we're going to win. You're going to beat somebody that's 15 times your size. Biden shouldn't have let that happen. Biden shouldn't have. I mean, the man was grossly incompetent. He should have never been there. That would have never happened. But you don't go into a war that's 15 times your size.
Do you think
So
the
the
Say it.
Fed just put out a statement saying that Lisa Cook has indicated through a personal attorney that she'll promptly challenge this action in court, seek a judicial decision that would confirm her ability to continue.
That's all right, whatever
And
it
it
is.
says the Fed will abide by any court decision.
Thank you very much for reading
You abide
that.
by a court decision.
I abide by the court, yeah. I abide by the
So
court.
the
Yes,
question
please.
is-
That's enough. That's enough.
Mr.
Go ahead.
President, what
Fair.
other companies, or what other companies are you thinking about taking stake in?
Well, we didn't take a stake in the sense that it was reported. Everyone said, I bought a stake in Intel. No, I got it for free. I said I was with the, is that correct statement? Howard was there. and
Absolutely correct.
Scott knew all about it. They came in, a man was charged with something by a very good person, Senator Cotton, made some statements about the gentleman that was running Intel. When he came in, and I said some rough things about him, I said, I'm not happy with it, and they called, and he was very devastated at what I said. I said he should immediately resign. And he came to see me, and I was very impressed by him, actually. And he made a mistake, or factors happened where something like this could have taken place. In the meantime, his board was staying by him. And I said to him, and took about, I would say, less than 45 seconds. I said, you know what you should do if you're smart? Give the United States of America 10% of your company. And he looked at me and he said, I'll do that. I said, I just made $11 billion for the United States. And we made the deal. I didn't pay, we didn't write a check. Now, I guess Biden, with his stupid CHIPS Act, handed money to all these people that didn't need any money. It didn't do anything. They're giving billions of dollars to everybody. They all have so much money, and they have more money. But there's no commitment that you had to build. They just took all this money. It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. See, with tariffs, they have to come in, because if they don't come in, they can't sell into our country. So it's power, and you don't have to give up any money. But I said to him very simply, I'm glad we're straightening this out, because everyone thinks I bought in. No. I said, it would be great, we'd be a great partner for you, and I want to see Intel do well. Intel was a great company, and it can be a great company again. But I said, I think it would be good if we own 10% of your company. He said, I'll make that deal. And it happens to be worth $11 billion. So we made $11 billion for the country, and then I was criticized by some of the fake news media. That's not the American way. Actually, it is the American way. Now, if I can help other countries or do those deals with others, I would do that. I think it's great. It's good. Builds up our balance sheet. Let me tell you, our country is becoming very rich again. You don't see it. When the CBO came out on Friday and said, we just found $4 trillion, and that goes to promote great paying blue collar jobs and to rebuild the industrial bedrock of our nation. It's also obviously for great defense. We have the greatest military in the world. We rebuilt it largely in my first term. Some of it was stupidly given away to Afghanistan. For what reason? Nobody can figure that one. But it was still a relatively small amount of what, if you compare. The concept of what they did, however, is just incredible. But the country is doing well. We're respected all over the world like never before, probably. We went to NATO, as you know, and they went from 2% to 5% of GDP. Nobody expected that. And the difference is they didn't pay the 2 and they paid the 5. So, and as you know, we are selling a tremendous amount of equipment to NATO. We're not spending any money, we're making money, but I don't want to talk about making. I want to talk about we're no longer involved with funding Ukraine, but we are involved with trying to stop the war and the killing in Ukraine. So we're selling missiles and military equipment, millions and millions, and ultimately billions of dollars to the NATO people, where I'm very friendly and we have a great relationship, but that was an amazing trip. So they're funding the entire war. We're not funding anything. I think it's an important point to make, because a lot of people don't understand that. And we will continue to do that, and we're trying to get as much as we can for them. They want the American product. The American military product is by far the best in the world, and that's what they want to get. They have lots of options, but that's what they want to get. So the factories are doubling up and tripling up where they make the Patriots and other really, you could say, defense and offensive weapons. The wages for blue-collar workers are now rising at the fastest rate in 60 years, which is so important to all of us around this table. The average American worker has already seen a $500 wage increase this year, and there's no inflation. because there's been decreases, tremendous decreases with, thanks to Doug and Chris, and some of the people, the great job they've done with energy. Thank you very much. And Chris, thank you very much. I see you down close to $60 a barrel, and you'll be breaking that pretty soon. And that has a huge impact. So we have groceries are down, energy is way down. Energy is way down. It was $4 and $5 for a gallon of gas. Think of that for gasoline, and now it's probably $2.25. There are some places it's $2. It broke $2 at a couple of locations in the South. In places like California where they charge such high taxes, it's higher, but it's still much lower than what it was a year ago. So energy's way down, groceries are way down, eggs are way down. Thank you very much, Madam Secretary. You've done a great job. Appreciate it. When we came in, the eggs were through the roof. They were 4 times higher than they've ever been. And my first question from you people were, what are you going to do with eggs? I said, what's the problem with eggs? That was caused by Biden, or whoever was operating the auto pen actually caused it, I guess, because I don't think he knew too much about eggs. Factories are booming compared to before I took office. Domestic auto production is going to be, it's going to be so thrilling in 2 years when you see the numbers, because they're building plants all over the country. They're all coming in because of tariffs. They don't want to build, they don't want to pay the tariff. You know about AI and you know about other, but the auto plants, you know, that's the good old-fashioned stuff that I love. The auto plants are pouring into the United States of America. They're coming from Mexico, they're coming from Canada, and they're coming from Europe, all over Europe. And it's been pretty amazing. So factories are booming. And when they actually open, you know, right now they're booming in terms of construction. This is something given to me by Mark Zuckerberg. And you'll see, this is AI now. These are, I never understood. I said, well, you know, because I built shopping centers, and for $50 million, you can build a very nice shopping center. So I never understood when they said $50 billion for a plant. I said, what the hell kind of a plant is that? But when you look at this, you understand why it's $50 billion. So this is one he's building in Louisiana. That's Meta, Facebook, as people understand it to be. But look at that, that's the size of Manhattan. So that's superimposed over the island of Manhattan. It takes up a big part of Manhattan. I think they say 81% of Manhattan. So these are big things, and they're going up. A lot of them are going up now. I don't know that big. Actually, Mark is building 4 of them, and others are building similar places. And when these things open up, I'll tell you what, our country, we're leading China now in AI, substantially leading China. And the reason is because we're letting them build their own electrical facilities. We would need double the energy that if you take all of the electricity that we produce right now in this country, you'd have to multiply it times 2 or maybe 3 times. So 3 times more than we have right now for everything, to operate your toaster and everything else, okay? 3 times more. And the way we are able to succeed, because China goes out and builds these massive plants. They're right now building 58 coal, in this case, almost all coal-fired plants. And coal is back with this country too, by the way. You know, there's a reason they use it, because it's good. It works for them. And we call it clean coal. We don't call it coal, we call it clean, even very clean coal. But we have coal going up, we have nuclear going up. Nuclear is very much in vogue now. It's safe and inexpensive and great. We don't allow windmills. We're not allowing any windmills to go up. I mean, unless there's a legal situation where somebody committed to it a long time ago, we don't allow windmills. And we don't want the solar panels that I was speaking with the secretary about, because they take up, you know, thousands of acres of our farmland. You see these big, ugly patches of black plastic that comes from China. And the solar is, you know, I like solar in some ways, but for firing up your big plants, it doesn't work. It's very unstable, but it really takes up your farm. The farmers are saying, you know, they're building these massive blotches in the middle of the fields all over the country. It's so crazy. It's so crazy. So we're not heavy into that at all. And windmills, we're just not going to allow them. They're ruining our country. They're ruining everyone. If you look at I hate to mention countries, but you look at the UK, what's happened at UK, they have energy costs have gone through the roof. It's because of wind. They want to do everything, close up the northern parts of the country. They have oil that's tremendous. And they closed it up, and they've been building windmills all over the place. And I tell them, you're my friends, but man, you're going to have a bad awakening very soon. It's going to be very bad. They're ugly. They don't work. They kill your birds. They're bad for the environment. And if you look at them from a house, your house is worth less than 50%. So I'm trying to have people learn about wind real fast, and I think I've done a good job, but not good enough, because some countries are still trying, and they're destroying themselves. Those are countries that are really destroying themselves. I hope they get back to fossil fuel, because right now, Chris, whether we like it or not, fossil fuel is the thing that works, and then you can add nuclear with it and other things, but fossil fuel is what works if we're going to fire up those big monster factories. But if you look at comparing everything before I took office, domestic auto production is up 18,000 cars a month. And we haven't even started yet, because a lot of these plants aren't built. It's up 18,000 because Ford, General Motors, and a couple of others, Stellantis, they're taking their existing plants, and they're, as quickly as they can, they're adding on to them. So when their plants open, because they're building big, modern, beautiful auto plants, but think of that, we're up 18,000 cars a month, and essentially all they've done is try and utilize their space correctly as their big plants open up. It's going to be, I hope they remember that it was this way. I hope this table gets a lot of the credit for what's happening. It gets all of the credit, because this would have never happened. We were going out of business in every way. We were losing. All the car plants were leaving this country. Now they're all coming back in, and they are coming from Canada, and they are coming from Mexico, but they're coming from Germany. They're coming from all over the world. Domestic steel production is up by 100,000 tons of steel a week. We have a 50% tariff on steel, aluminum, and various other things. Copper just got brought into the picture, and that means people are going to want to make steel here. We just made a deal with U.S. Steel. As you know, we have an outside company come in, spend $17 billion on building new plants, new everything. It's great, and it stays right here in America. So we're doing amazingly well on steel, and domestic oil production is up by more than 300,000 barrels a day. That's a lot of barrels, and you're going to be talking about that in a second, I think, Chris and Doug. These two people have done a fantastic job, and we have the oil price down to about $62 a barrel. So just so you understand, because a lot of you like to talk about costs and prices, but I watch so much fake information. Product costs are down. Energy is way down. Energy brings things down. You know, with energy, that's what happened with Biden. He stopped our program, and then he went back to it when he realized that it looked like you're going to be paying numbers that nobody's ever seen, like $7 a gallon. You're going to pay $7 a gallon. They were up to $7.5. So then he immediately went back to the Trump plan that they terminated, but it was too late for them. It was too late. They blew it. They had a great thing going. I gave them something great, and they blew it. Since the inauguration, we've created over 500,000 new private jobs, and if you notice, when the numbers come out, government jobs are going down and private jobs are coming up, and that's what really fuels the country. It's easy to hire people and pay them for doing something that maybe is not very productive, but government jobs are down, actually substantially down, and private jobs are way up, and these are the jobs that make money, create a better life. Meanwhile, we've reduced the number of federal bureaucrats by 84,000. So we got rid of 84,000, and I think the job numbers, you're going to see the new job numbers are going to be through the roof because of all of the different businesses that are moving into our country. And not just production businesses, autos and AI, but any business you can think of. In the world of furniture, as an example, North Carolina, I went there many times when I built a lot of hotels and things, and I'd go to North Carolina, I'd buy the greatest, they were the greatest, most talented people. And then China came along and took all of those jobs away. If they would have tariffed them, China wouldn't have taken any of the jobs. But they didn't know what the hell they were doing from a business standpoint, from running the country. And North Carolina, the most talented woodworkers that you've ever seen. I'd be there and I'd watch them. I'd say, I'd like to have a rail in that chair. Maybe, can you fancy it up a little bit? How about this, sir? And they'd hand me a thing. It was like they were artists. They were unbelievable. And that business was stolen from us by others, not only China, but by others. All of a sudden, you're ordering your furniture from China. It was not even close to being as good, but they couldn't compete with it. If we would have said it costs 100% or 200% tariff, you wouldn't have lost one job. It's so sad. But we're going to rebuild to an extent. They make furniture, but furniture, we're going to put a very substantial tariff on. We've already announced it. It'll be done pretty quickly. And when that happens, everyone's going to start. I just tell you, North Carolina, go out and start getting the grandchildren and the children, start teaching them, because some of those incredible artists that I knew as young people, they're older people now, but they still have the talent and they have time left. But they're going to be teaching their sons and their daughters and their grandchildren. And it's going to be a beautiful thing to see. It's going to happen like magic. It's going to happen without question. It's not like, gee, I hope it happens. It's going to happen. The results of Ford that just announced it's going to create 4,000 new jobs, American jobs. Hyundai, 14,000 jobs. General Motors is moving production of the Chevy Blazer and Equinox from Mexico back to the United States where it belongs. Don't forget, we lost 55% of our auto production over the last 35 years. 55%. We were the auto capital of the world. Like there was nobody even think about challenging us. We lost 55% of it to Mexico, Canada, China, a lot to China, and other countries. And it's all coming back. We will be bigger. A couple of years, we'll be bigger than we ever were. We'll be more dominant. We'll be bigger. We make great product, too. We're starting to make really great product. We're going to be bigger than we ever were. We're going to be at the level that it was when we were the only one that really, we sold to the world. And we're going to be back selling to ourselves and other parts of the world. It's not going to be the same, but it's going to be equally as important as it was in the heyday 30 years ago. But we lost more than 50% of the automaking capacity. In fact, the unions, the auto unions, as you know, the top guy didn't know me, didn't like me, and now he likes me. He says, man, I can't believe what Trump has done. But the auto workers voted for me. They understood better than anybody else. The auto workers, the Teamsters voted for me. Teamsters are great. They all voted for me. No Republican has ever gotten the support of the Teamsters and the auto workers. And now the head of the auto workers, I mean, it's so amazing. I watch them on television there. They can't even believe what happened. And I told them all what was going to happen. We secured new market access for American agricultural exports all over the world. Our secretary has negotiated historic trade deals with the United Kingdom, China, Indonesia, Vietnam, the Philippines, Japan, South Korea, who was here yesterday, and the European Union. Foreign nations are now paying hundreds of billions of dollars straight into our treasury, and numbers that nobody's ever seen before. As you know, we made trade deals with a lot of countries, and many of those countries, just to be able to sit at the table, are paying us hundreds of billions of dollars. We made a trade deal with the European Union. They were rough on us for a long time. And now we have a very good deal. We made that with them. Trillions of dollars is coming into our country. Trillions. Far beyond billions, trillions of dollars. Wouldn't you say, Scott?
Yes, sir.
And in a short period of time, of our energy product. Energy is great. We have more than anybody else, so we're using it. But the European Union is a done deal, and Japan is done. And, I heard there was a problem with South Korea, but we met yesterday, and they're done. We didn't do anything. We just kept the same deal. He honored the deal. They wanted to see if, well, I don't even want to say it, but they wanted to see if they could do something. But they honored the deal, which is nice. And we cut the previous record-setting trade deficit, I hear just came out. We cut it in half already. We haven't even said, we've only been here really for a few months because, you know, it takes you a little while to fix up the Oval Office and do those things. prepare for the battle, right? So we really only been here for a very short period of time, and we cut the trade deficit in half. Is that right? That's fantastic. I didn't even think we were going to do that. And remember, these are things that are being built. These things, all these numbers up here, they're not open yet. When they open, you're going to see things happen in the United States that nobody's ever seen before, including our country in its heyday. And I had the greatest economy in the history of our country my first 4 years, despite COVID, which was a very unfortunate situation for the whole world. We did a great job with it, never got the credit for the job we did. Operation Warp Speed, people say, is one of the greatest achievements ever in politics or in the military, because it was almost a military procedure. But everybody, including Putin, said that Operation Warp Speed, what you did with that, nobody can believe it. And we did a great job, but it was a horrible, horrible pall over our country. We had a very dark cloud over the world. That was a very, very bad thing that came out of Wuhan, which I said it came out of Wuhan. That's where it came from. And China suffered greatly, but everybody did. But we did a good job with that, as good as you can possibly do, and we came back, and now we're stronger than ever before. If I didn't win this election, this country was gone. I'm telling you, economically it was gone. None of the things that we're talking about would have happened. The whole world was robbing us blind. Friend and foe, they were stealing our jobs, our money, our factories. They were stealing everything. We would have been a shell. We would have been a bankrupt, broken shell. And that's the way it is, but we're doing just the opposite. Stronger than we've ever been. Last month, in a landmark achievement, I also proudly signed the largest working class tax cuts in American history. So the bill that, I'm not going to use the term great, big, beautiful, that was good for getting it approved, but it's not good for explaining to people what it's all about. It's a massive tax cut for the middle class. It's a massive tax cut for jobs. And it's, think of it, no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security. So seniors, I don't know how you can vote for anybody else. And, just think of that, and no tax on overtime. So you work overtime, you don't have to pay tax on overtime. That's good. The Democrats don't know what they're going to do. So they have, like, this soundbite. They have all these sound bites. They send it out. I don't know. Some guy sends out a word, and everybody uses it, including the fake news. Some of you are here right now. I'm looking at you. And it's death. They use the word death. No, it's actually life. It's almost like a newborn life. It's not death. That's their soundbite. The bill is death. It's not. We strengthen Social Security. We strengthen Medicare, Medicaid. The job we've done on Social Security is, if the Democrats got in, Social Security is over, because the country's going to fail. There won't be any Social Security. And I made that pledge to you. We're going to take care of Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and we're doing that in spades because the country is becoming so successful again. And it hasn't been this successful. I think in the end, it will never have been this successful. I don't think it'll even be close with what's happening. Every American is seeing a tax cut as a result of the bill. The average police officer will keep an extra $1,000 a year at least in overtime, and the average waiter or waitress will keep nearly $2,000 extra in the fact that they would have had to pay that kind of money on tips. And I never realized that the government was so strong on that. But waitresses, waiters would tell me that the government would go after them. Like, it was horrible. That's how it all started with me. It just was incredible. And the biggest thing was, again, the $4 trillion that they found. They said, well, that was nice. They should have announced it. I could have told them that. And I don't know. It should be simple. But a lot of people didn't understand it. Actually, a lot of good people didn't understand it. But now they're saying, Trump was right. They'd never seen anything like this. And I don't know what it is, Scott. They didn't understand what we were trying to explain to them was going to happen. Everybody's moving back to the United States because they don't want to pay a tax. If they're not here, they have to pay a tax. And it didn't seem that complicated. but it's working at a level that nobody can imagine. You know, this is working $4 trillion, but that's a big number. It's a number that nobody ever heard of before, but 4 trillion is exciting. But that's nothing compared to what's happening, because these places haven't even opened yet. Some of them haven't even started hiring yet. They're under construction. So it's construction jobs, but it's not the big number, and the big numbers, when they open, they're going to be very successful. It's a revolution. We're also working on things to ensure that the awesome power of artificial intelligence is used to benefit all Americans, including American workers and also American children. In that spirit, our wonderful First Lady has just announced a presidential AI challenge. It's going to be a very good challenge, I can tell you. She's put her heart into it, which will inspire the next generation to stay on the cutting edge of this vital technology. This is the new internet, the new computer, the new television, the new everything, all put together in one. This is why when I show you a picture like that, I mean, I show you this. This is a factory superimposed over the island of Manhattan. And you have many of them being built right now all over the country, or soon to start. Some of them. Some of them have started. This one has actually started. That's in the great state of Louisiana. But the First Lady is working very hard on this, and it's an important initiative. And Melania, when she puts her mind to it, nobody can do better. There's nobody. So every young person should go to AI.gov to learn more, AI.gov to learn more. And you'll see it's a great challenge. I think it's going to be a very modern kind of a challenge that involves AI, which is very exciting to people. So I want to thank her, raise a lot of money for children. We're putting America first, and we're going to be putting the American worker first. And, you know, the Republican Party has picked up 4 million new people, 4 million. The Democrats have lost 2.5 million. Other than that, they're extremely happy. No, they're very depressed. They're very depressed. And their new box that they've fallen into is crime. There was a consultant on one of the shows this morning I was watching. I thought he was very good. He's a Democrat consultant. And he was screaming, no, no, don't let him do this to you. Don't let, it's another trap. It's another trap. What he's talking about, like men playing in women's sports. They said that's an 80-20. No, it's a 97-3. It's 97-3. Like transgender for everybody. They fought for it. They're still fighting for it. I saw a guy today, a politician that you all know very well, fighting like hell for men playing in women's sports. You don't understand. They're human beings also. Well, I agree they're human beings. But you can't have a 7-foot guy playing basketball with the women. You know, it's just one of those little problems in life. And we all have our place. That's okay. I've got my place too. But this guy's screaming, it's another trap. And this is the worst of all. He said, because this is crime. Trump is saying he's against crime and they're for crime. No, he's going, it was funny. No, it's a trap. Don't do it. And then I saw this poor, stupid Chuck Schumer, the guy. He looks like he's aged 100 years. And I don't like getting into looks. You know, looks don't mean anything, right? When you're in politics, looks don't matter. I look at Pam, I would never say she's beautiful because that'd be the end of my political career. Glory. Secretary. But I will tell you, this is the best of all. And they're going to fight me. Like this slob of a governor you have in Illinois. This poor guy got thrown out of his business by his family. I know the family. I was partners with the family. Nice family. I like the family. But he was no good. They threw him out. He's governor of Illinois. And he goes about Trump, we don't need his help. Chicago is the worst. These places are really bad. Crime in D.C. was the worst it ever was. You know, they make up stories. Crime in D.C. was the worst ever in history. And now, over the last 13 days, we've worked so hard. We've taken so many, there are many left, but we've taken so many criminals, over 1,000. I watched a man from Maryland who said to me, I mean, sir, you're the greatest president. You're doing an unbelievable job. What a great job. Governor Moore, has anyone heard of him? He's another hopeful for president. I don't think so. But I met him, and I didn't realize it was on camera. Did you see they caught him on camera? I was at a game, I don't know, like the Army-Navy game or something. And I met him in a hallway. And as usual, you do your job very well. One of these great cameramen had it on tape. But I met this gentleman. I never met him before. Sir, you're doing a great job. You're doing an unbelievable job. Thank you very much. But then he goes on television and says, oh, Trump is a dictator. He's a dictator. And a lot of people have heard. So the line is that I'm a dictator, but I stop crime. So a lot of people say, you know, if that's the case, I'd rather have a dictator. But I'm not a dictator. I just know how to stop crime. And you would think that Illinois, where they have such a problem with crime, such a bad governor, he should be calling me and he should be saying, could you send over the troops, please? It's out of control. It's out of control. In New York, it's out of control. Not as bad as Illinois, by the way. Not even close. In California, you would have not had the Olympics had I not sent in the troops. We sent in the National Guard. They did a fantastic job. We have the Olympics. We have the World Cup coming. I got them in my first term. And I was really sad because I said, oh, boy, I got them, and I won't be president. And little things happen. Thank you, God. Thank you. You know, little things happen. Think of it. You could ask Johnny. Johnny would tell you he's the head of World Cup. He's a great guy, too, great commissioner. But he's the head of the World Cup. He said, Trump is the only reason we're doing this. And the sad part is that I was not going to have it. I would have to be, probably I wouldn't have even been invited to the game, depending on who's president, right? And I got that. I did not get 250, okay? The 250th anniversary, I did not get. I'd like to claim it, if I might, but I did get that. That was, whether I was president or not, it was still 250. I'd like to take credit for it. What I will take credit for is we're going to have a better celebration under Trump than you would have had under some stuff. That I'll take care of. We're going to have a safer place, Christy, because of you and Tom Homan and everybody, right? But, so we have 250 coming up. We have the World Cup coming up, which is like having 45 Super Bowls. And we have the Olympics coming up. So we're going to have a very exciting 3.5 years remaining. We're going to have a very exciting, it's going to be done properly. So I just want to tell you, our country's in incredible shape. Our military is strong and powerful and respected. Decisions from the Supreme Court that let us put the people into our country. That was a very strong, very powerful. You can now go into a company, some factor that cannot make our country great. That was a big decision, very, very big decision. And we've had a lot of great decisions, and we've all made some great decisions sitting around this table. I want to thank Scott. Unbelievable what's happening financially with you and Howard. And Vice President's involved in everything, and he's been great. And Marco has been, really, I think you're born for this job. I don't think you should ever run for another office. I don't think you should, really. You're so good at this. He is so good. Everybody, much more importantly than I think you would say, is respect. They respect Marco. They respect all the people around the table. So what I'd like to do is, I'd like to go around the table. You seem to like it. Your audience seems to like it based on ratings. And I want to mention, about crime, because we have a young lady here, Iris, of Epoch Times. You're Iris, aren't you, huh? And I heard you were very savagely mugged in the city, and I'm not going to let that happen under this administration. That was last year. And would you like to mention what happened?
Of course. So first of all, thank you, Mr. President.
You want to listen to this?
For having me here to share my story to the room and to the broader public. My name is Iris Tao. I'm a White House correspondent for NTD, the sister media of the Epoch Times. So more than 2 years ago, it was a Saturday morning in broad daylight. I was on my way to work, and a young man with a black ski mask pointed a gun in my face and threatened me to hand over my phone, my wallet, my laptop, and everything else. And when I refused, he used the butt of his handgun to strike me across the face in the cheek, or what some people call pistol whip me before running away. And that has deeply traumatized myself and my family. Ever since, I've never dared to walk in the street of DC at night ever, and my family was extremely worried. So, Mr. President, thank you so much for what you're doing right
Thank you,
now.
for being honest.
Such incidents involve not just me, but also my family. If he had shot me, I could have died right there in the middle of nowhere without my families or my friends knowing at the age of back then, I think 23.
Right.
Just starting my career here in DC without even starting a family. Right now, I'm very blessed to have this opportunity.
So you had a gun pointed at your head, and you probably figured that he's going to pull the trigger because these are animals that don't know what the hell, they couldn't care less. The pulling the trigger to him is a very minor event, and I'm sure he's done it before. So how did you, and you did refuse to give it, which
Correct.
would probably, maybe somebody would say that was not the right decision, right?
Right.
But you refused, but I understand that. So really amazing that you weren't shot, though.
I'm very blessed, and that's why having this opportunity to stand here to share my story today. One, I'm very grateful for God for allowing me to still survive to this day, but also to Mr. President. Thank you for now making DC safer.
Thank you very much.
For us, for our families, for my parents, on my behalf of my parents, and now my baby on the way. Thank you so much.
And there are other reporters and journalists, good people, and you don't have to say it, but that have also been attacked violently. And not violently, too, but pretty badly. But, and I bet you see a big difference in the streets right now. And this is only 12 days, but people are telling me they're going out to dinner now. They haven't, I told the story of my friend, but I have a lot of friends that are going out to dinner all the time now in DC, and they weren't doing it 12 days ago. They would never even think. One of my friends went out 5 times. It was 4 times the last time I told. Now it's 5 times. He said, I love going out to dinner, and restaurants are starting to open again. A lot of them closed because, nobody wanted to go into a restaurant. Nobody wanted to get to a restaurant or even sit in the restaurant. But you see a big difference now, don't you?
I do pass by Union Station every day on my way home, and I do feel a lot safer seeing the trucks right outside, seeing the National Guard troops members right outside. It does make me feel like I'm hopeful about DC again, and one day hopefully we can raise our family here.
Thank you very much. That's nice. And those are tough troops, too. Those are not politically correct troops. We don't have politically correct anymore. We have tough guys, tough people, including some tough women. But we have tough people, and when you look at them, I'll tell you, they showed one scene where a bunch of Tren de Aragua guys, or whatever, maybe MS-13, maybe MSDNC, okay? Because to me, they're worse. I think they're worse. MSNBC maybe is worse than Tren de Aragua. Real scum, real dishonest people. But anyway, they went into this gang, I think it was Tren de Aragua, Venezuela, and they weren't nice to this group of people. The gang was calling them sir. Yes, sir, yes, sir. Get out of here, get the hell out of here, you're no good. Get out of here. And yes, sir, yes, sir, yes. These are people that beat up people all day long. And they're calling these soldiers, that's what they are, they're real soldiers. There's no games. I said, you don't have to be politically correct. And you know the way they used to spit in the face of the soldiers, with the soldiers standing like this, and you'd have some guy or some woman sometimes screaming at them from 1 inch away. They're standing there, and they're told you cannot do anything, and they start spitting, actually spitting in their face. And I said, you spit, we hit. And they're totally authorized to do that, all of those things. But your story is great, and there are other stories here, but they don't have to tell them. But some people are ashamed to tell them. They don't want to tell them. But it was like a jungle, and it's not a jungle anymore. And it's going to get so good that this will be the safest capital there is. It'll be one of the safest places in our nation, anywhere. And right now, it's one of the most unsafe places, but not now. 12 days ago, it was the most unsafe place in our nation. And they have to stop issuing false crime numbers because, I heard the mayor, and I like the mayor, fine. I don't care if I like her or not. If she did her job, I wish she were a horrible person who did her job, but she's probably nice, I guess. I don't care. I want her to do a job. But the issue, false numbers. She said crime is down, you know, before we got, now they can say crime is down. Crime is very much down. But what they did is they issued numbers. It's the best in 30 years. Not the best. It's the worst. It's the worst. It's much worse. And they gave phony numbers. And then they fired the man who didn't want to write the phony numbers. He got fired. And I guess that whole situation's under investigation because it's a very important thing, Pam. I mean, if they're going to give these phony numbers, it's a false feeling that you get crime, you have to do something about it. You can't go around saying, oh, Washington, D.C. safe if it's not. It's going to be very safe very soon. It's very safe right now. You're going to go out, have dinner. People are going out all over the place. They're walking. I have people that work in government, strong, tough cookies. They can take care of themselves. But it doesn't help to have big, strong muscles. And I work out. If a guy's over there with a gun shooting you in your face, you can be the strongest guy in the world. A guy has a gun, shoots you in the face. It doesn't matter how much you've worked out, how many weights you've lifted, how hard you work. And so we have the toughest guys and we have the best guys. And I'm willing to go to Chicago, which is a big trouble, but we have a governor that refuses to admit he has problems, huge problems. Baltimore, Wes Moore was telling me I want to walk with the president. Well, I said, I want to walk with you too someday, but first you got to clean up your crime because I'm not walking in Baltimore right now. Baltimore is a hellhole. And this guy, I don't even think he knows it. He's another candidate for president. Between him and Newsom, you got some real beauties, I'll tell you. But if we didn't go into Los Angeles, you wouldn't have the Olympics. In my opinion, you wouldn't have the Olympics. We went in, and the sheriff, the boss, said, thank God they're here. You could see his tape. He said, we were not able to control what was happening. That was the sheriff. And he said it loud and clear. And you know, they're suing us for going in and cleaning up crime. And yet their own sheriff said, on the first or second night, he said, we could have never handled. That was going to be, you were not going to have the Olympics or the World Cup, because that would be, there wouldn't be anything left. They shouldn't have lost 25,000 houses. The water was turned off from the Pacific Northwest. And I was after them in my first administration, turn on the water, turn it on. Nobody could have believed this could have happened. But they had no water in the fire hydrants. They had no water in the sprinkler systems that people put up in their ceilings. There was no water. And yet we have tremendous amounts of water. They send it all into the Pacific Ocean, trying to protect a certain little fish. It's not doing well because it doesn't do well without water either. And it shouldn't be protected because it shouldn't be a protected species. But I think that's actually just an excuse. I actually think these people are sick. There's something wrong. So we send hundreds of millions of gallons of water a day into the Pacific Ocean. They turn a valve, and the valve heads out, and we turn the valve back. I actually had to do it using force. We turned the valve back, and now they have water, but not as much as they should have, because they should. And I'm telling Gavin Newsom by this conversation right now, turn the rest of things are done that are so sad in this country. Lack of common sense. I like to say the Republican Party is the party with common sense. We're smart, we're sharp, we're this to that. They're smart, but they're radical left people. And they can't help it. They're very smart, but they're radical left, and they're destroying our country, but they're not going to destroy it anymore. So we picked up millions of people in the Republican Party. They lost millions of people. And I think we're going to do very well in the midterms. And I just want to say one other thing, and that's medicine. The cost of medicine all over the world is much cheaper than the United States because for years the world pushed us around, including our friends. And you go to Germany, you go to England, you go to different places, and you go to a store, and it's sometimes 10% of what we pay in the United States because they said, nope, we're not paying any more. You charge the United States. This went on for 25, 30 years. And I invoked favored nations. I said, I want to pay the same as they're paying. And Bobby Kennedy is doing a good job, and Dr. Oz is doing a good job. And I asked them, I mean, other than the basics that they're doing on autism and other things, which we got to solve that problem because it's crazy what's happening, it's out of hand. But this is the most important thing that can be done is favored nations, Bobby. And we're not talking about a 25% cut or 50, we're talking about a 1,500% cut. Because people go to Europe to buy drugs and they come back with drugs, prescription drugs, normal, not, I don't mean the bad drugs, I mean prescription drugs. Because you can buy them for 10%, 15%, 20% of what. So they're going to go up in price. And I told the countries, and I get along good with all of them. I mean, you could ask I get along good with all of them. But I said, you know, I told them, I said, you're going to go up a little bit because it's the world. It's the world. So more people in the world than we have. We're going to go down a lot, and they're going to go up a little. And it's called equalization. We're going to have equalization. So we pay the same price as the lowest drug sold anywhere in the world. And I think, Bobby, that's going to happen pretty soon. The companies are ready for it. They had to go for years. I was with a very great gentleman from Eli Lilly. I think he's an incredible executive. I mean, I'll mention the company and I'll mention him because we had this argument my first term, and then we had it in my second term. In my second term, I wouldn't stop until I won the point, and he threw up his hands. He says, you're right, I can no longer defend it. I can no longer defend that a pill that's made by Johnson & Johnson in a factory, in the same factory, in the United States versus a place in Europe or other places, including Canada, by the way, you could buy it for 10% or 15% or 20%, the cost of what we're paying, where we'd pay 5, 6, 7 times more money. He said, it's the hardest part of my job, defending that. I'm not going to do it anymore. He's done a great job, and I appreciated it. And it really broke the ice because they were sending, well, we have to do research and development. Well, you have to do it for Germany and all these other countries, too. Well, they think the United States should bear it. I mean, I heard this stuff, and I finally said, it's over. Now, you have to have somebody that can get these countries to do it. I told them, if you don't do it, we're going to charge you a 25% tariff on everything you send into our country. That's much more money than what we're talking about. Then we have to get the drug companies to do it, and they'll do it because we have tremendous power over the drug companies, too. So we're going to get it done. I just hope we get it done fast, Bobby, because this thing should go fast. But we're going to get the cost of medicine is going to be 1,000%. Think of that. Not 2%. And I'll just tell this last story. When I was in my first term, in my last year, I was so proud of myself because drug prices went down for the first time in 28 years under my administration. You know how much it went down? 1/4%. And I was so proud of that. And I held a news conference, I think you'll be able to find it, congratulating myself and my administration because for the first time in 28 years, drug prices went down 1/4%. That little tiny, but then I realized, you know, it's a very complicated business and formula. You got to be very smart. I said, we're really getting ripped off by the whole world. The whole world is ripping us off. And what happened is I got on this kick, and I got the drug companies to agree, and I got countries to agree. And they're not agreeing because they think I'm a nice person. They're agreeing because that will be many times more than what they're going to be paying. So the companies are there and the countries are there. And we got to get it done, Bobby. We got to get it done. And we're going to have the biggest price of it. Now, that's going to lower Social Security, Medicare. This is going to lower everything because drugs go for everything. It's going to have the biggest impact, I think, of anything that can possibly be done. But your costs are going to be going down for medicine, for prescription drugs, will be going down at levels that nobody ever thought possible. And that's going to happen in a matter of a very short period of time. And we're all set with the countries, and we're all set with the companies. That's all you need, the two. And the middleman gets cut out. Under this scenario, the middleman doesn't exist anymore. That was the other thing. They always blame the middleman. I said, who are the middlemen? nobody knew who the middleman was, you know? They had the most complex formula. It was genius, but they didn't get away with it. So I'm counting on Bobby. Do you want to start, Bobby? Maybe we'll start with you. You can start with that and then go on to what we're talking about.
We are deep into MFN negotiations, most favored nation status negotiations with 14 companies. Howard Lutnick is a breath of fresh air, and I think he's going to help us get across the finish line with the leverage that we have from tariffs.
They're smart. Don't let them get away with it, Howard.
Well, the combination of Bobby's MFN and the 232 pharmaceuticals, which we launched together,
Right.
when you put those two together, it really gives Bobby the tools to go execute your plan. So I'm supporting Bobby as he executes his plan.
Good. Right?
Yes. And this cabinet meeting is supposed to be about working Americans and bringing jobs back to this country. I want to mention the big, beautiful bill. Right now, we spend 7% of Medicaid dollars on rural hospitals. So they're getting the short end of the stick. It's about $19 billion a year. Under the Rural Transformation Program, we give them an extra $10 billion a year. So we're raising an infusion of cash to rural hospitals and rural fusion in history, and it's going to restore and revitalize these communities. And we can't survive as a nation if we don't honor our rural communities, which are the source of our values, our virtues, our character, our economy, our food. And you are bringing that back. You are bringing those communities back. I wanted to talk, because you mentioned the wind farms, we now have an interdepartmental coalition, a team, which is Doug Burgum and Howard Lutnick and Chris Wright and Pete Hegseth. We're all working on this issue. And Lee, we're all working together on this issue. We're meeting together. There are right now 11 wind farms planned that were launched during the Biden administration. Between Maine and Virginia, it's 1,130 towers. These towers are twice the size of the Washington Monument. The blades on them
They're
are
massive. It's so crazy.
the
Go ahead.
blades are 350 feet long, one blade. One of these blades blew up on Nantucket last summer, and the water was filled with shards of glass, of sharp glass, so it's dangerous to swim. They had to close the beaches, but they have indemnified themselves so the local communities can't sue them. None of these projects are bonded. If you build an oil derrick in the Gulf, you got to put a bond down. There's no bond for dismantling them, and that's one of the tools that Doug is now using to challenge some of these projects. None of the cost of energy from these projects is 39 cents a kilowatt hour. The average cost in this country is 17 cents per kilowatt hour.
And natural gas is 3 cents.
Right. So it is the most expensive energy. I've been representing commercial fishermen for 40 years. Their fisheries are being wiped out. As soon as they begin construction, the groundfish fisheries just disappear. The fish leave the area. They've killed 160 whales in the last 2 years. So they're wiping out the whale population, the Atlantic whale population, the big whales, the minkies, the gray whale, or the humpback whales, the right whales. And you are going to save the whales on the East Coast because of this. And you're going to save these economies that are based upon commercial fishing. I'll say one other thing about fishing. We are now, the South Asian nations are now dumping shrimp on our country. The shrimp is heavily contaminated. We just stopped a shipment that was contaminated with cesium-157, which is radioactive. They're farming these shrimps, and they use bactericides and antibiotics and all kinds of chemicals, and the shrimp are so contaminated that the European nations won't take them, so they're dumping them all here, and they're putting out of business. We have the most sustainable, highly regulated fishery in the world. What our fishermen do is a good thing. And all of the trawlers in the Gulf and Alaska are being shut down because we're getting shrimp dumped here. So we have now contaminated shrimp and putting our shrimpers out of business. I talked just very briefly, we have an historic agreement on pre-authorization. We brought together 80% of the insurance industry. which has agreed to, for 80% of diseases and injuries, give immediate pre-authorization so that when you go to your doctor's office and he prescribes you a new knee or whatever it is, you will immediately know whether your insurance company is going to pay for it. This is an historic agreement. People have been trying to do it for decades, and we, because of your leadership, brought the insurance industry together and got them to voluntarily agree to do this. Similarly, we've made another historic agreement. The 60 biggest tech companies in our country have all agreed to allow Americans for the first time access to their personal data, which they own, which these companies have been monetizing without permission. You're going to be able to see by next year all of your health records on your cell phone. It's going to save lives. It is going to fuel an infusion of technology into that space where people can access those records. They can compare their diet to what they personally need, and we'll have personalized medicine. We are doing price transparency. You passed this during your first term, and then the Biden administration refused to enforce it. We've now brought in HHS, under your leadership and my leadership, more enforcement actions than during the entire 4 years of the Biden administration.
Right.
So we're going to have that kind of price transparency. I'm working with Linda on forcing medical schools. And the MCATs, the people who administer the MCATs, the people who do accreditations, to put nutrition into medical school education. Right now, 25% of the doctors in this country do not feel competent to give nutritional advice. 70% of diabetes cases can be reversed or ended if you just change people's diets, and the doctors don't know how to advise it. They only know how to prescribe the drugs. We're going to change that, so if you come out of a medical school under the Trump administration, you are going to know about diet. And then finally, most importantly, the Pete and Bobby Challenge. I want to give an update. I got 5 minutes and 48. It's 100 push-ups, 50 pull-ups, and you try to do it within 10 minutes. I got 5 minutes and 48 seconds. Pete beat me. I'm still bitter at that. 5 minutes and 25. The cabinet leader is Scott Turner.
You beat me there.
That's got 5 minutes and 15 seconds. I'm waiting for reports from the rest of the cabinet. The only exemptions currently existing is if you can hit a 50 at Bedminster, which President Trump did with Bryson DeChambeau, so he's the only one exempt in this room. Everybody else.
That's great, Bobby. Bobby, autism, if I could just, I don't want to go too long because we have a lot of people, but the autism is such a tremendous horror show, what's happening in our country and some other countries, but mostly our country. How are you doing on that?
We are doing very well. We will have announcements as promised in September. We're finding certain interventions now that are clearly, almost certainly causing autism. And we're going to be able to address those in September.
It's such a big day. I'm looking forward to that day because there's something wrong when you see the kind of numbers that you have today versus 20 years ago. And those numbers, what are those numbers, Bob?
Well, in 1970, the biggest epidemiological study in history was done in Wisconsin. They looked at 900,000 children, and they were looking for autism. They knew what it looked like, and they were very, very precise about it, and they found an incident rate of 0.7, in other words, less than 1 per every 10,000 children. Today, our most recent numbers are 1 in every 31 kids. It's probably actually much worse than that because California, which has the best collection system, is reporting 1 out of every 19 children, now American children, has autism, 1 in every 12.5 boys. So it's gone from less than 1 in 10,000 in 1970 to 1 in 12.5 boys.
Think of those numbers. So there has to be something artificially causing this, meaning a drug or something. And I know you're looking very strongly at different things, and I hope you can come out with that as soon as possible.
We will.
So 1 in 10,000, and now it's 1 in 31 or 34 or 12 if it's a boy. Can you imagine that? 1 in 12. That's for a boy.
One out of every 12.5
It's
boys.
not even believable that that could be. And that was 1 in 10,000 not so long ago. I've been hearing these numbers, and they get worse and worse every year. There's got to be something. I think there's nothing, including favored nations and everything else, there's nothing. I think we maybe know the reason, and I look forward to that press conference, to be with you on that press conference. That's going to be a great thing. Thank you, Bob. You're doing a great job. Linda, how about it? And we want nothing less than $500 million from Harvard. Don't negotiate, Linda. They've been very bad. Don't negotiate. Go ahead.
All that's working well. Mr. President, thank you very much. Since we are focusing today on Labor Day, and I know that Kelly and Lori are both going to echo some of the things that I'll say as well, we are really focusing, on our workforce. But what I'm finding with great joy around the country, working more with middle schools and with high schools to make sure that we are having hands-on learning, there are pathways to jobs that are happening now. And if we see more and more of our community colleges working with our middle school, perhaps with a Toyota or another company that is coming in, public-private partnerships, and they're learning on the job so that when they graduate from high school, they're ready to go into the workforce, because we know with all of these wonderful jobs that are coming back into the country through AI, through AC operators, et cetera, if we don't have this training, we're not going to have the workforce we need for all these wonderful jobs. So governors are really excited about this prospect. I've been now to several states and visited community colleges and tech schools with governors, and they're just all on board for getting this done. I think it's one of the best things that we're hearing relative to the job market. So we're just kind of focusing on that for today.
So we're bringing education back to the states, to put it in a more simple fashion. We're going to let the states educate our children again. And, we're rated out of 40 countries, we're 38, 39, or 40. So obviously, it's not working what they've been doing for the last 30, 40 years. And if you go back, the best are like some of the other, Finland, they're very highly rated. If you go back to just take a look at anything you want to do, you just look at us in the past. If we gave Iowa or gave Indiana or gave, and I don't say every one of them, a guy like Gavin Newsom's not going to do well. Certain states won't do well. But even California, you cut it up into sections. You have Riverside, you have this, you have that. You cut it into 5 sections. And, if you had a good governor, you'd be able to do well. But certain states will be able to compete with Denmark, Norway, Sweden, and everyone. It'll be just as good. So I figure you have close to 40 of those states. Mm-hmm. And then you'll have 10, you'll have 5 that won't be very good. You have 5 disasters. And we'll have to work on those disasters. That will go zooming up in those charts, just like we have in everything else we've done. And I think it's one of the most important things we're doing at this table. So bringing parents running it, where you have the school boards, they're local. We have people running from Washington that have never even been to the state that they're in charge of. They've never even been there, and I don't think they care about it. So we want to close up the Washington buildings, sell the buildings off, let somebody else get rich with the real estate, because it'll be a crime-free city. Anybody murders something in the Capitol, capital punishment, capital punishment. If somebody kills somebody in the Capitol, Washington, D.C., we're going to be seeking the death penalty. And that's a very strong preventative. And everybody that's heard it agrees with it. I don't know if we're ready for it in this country, but where you have it, it is, we have no choice. So in D.C. and Washington, states are going to have to make their own decision. But if somebody kills somebody, like you could have been killed, very lucky you didn't get killed, it's the death penalty, okay? Fantastic job you're doing. Thank you, Linda. Very much appreciated. How are you doing with the colleges, by the way? You're doing some pretty good work in terms of.
Well, interestingly enough, since we've been negotiating with some of the Ivy Leagues and talked to us about all of the steps that they are taking, because they would like to not come under the same investigative program, and so it is